Hi guys, and welcome to Horologique. Today we'll be reviewing the Feynman Cove, and this is the second watch from Feynman, which is a microbrand coming out of Singapore. I reviewed their first model, the one. You can find the link in here for that review, and this keeps the same aesthetic, but it has beefed it up. It has turned this into a compressor case. So this now is a dive watch, 200 meters water resistant, with a lot of nice lume that I will show you later, and with a compressor case, very interesting as well. And many thanks to Feynman Timekeepers for having sent this piece in for review. So let's start with dimensions. So this watch is 41 millimeters in diameter. It is funny that on the side they say 40. I don't know how they took those measures, but I can assure you that it's 41.5. It's 13 millimeters in height. It's a very nice and compact 45 millimeters lug to lug, and it's a 20 millimeters in lug width. The bracelet, which is a very nice rubber bracelet, is a 20 and does not taper at all. But it does have this pattern that reminds us of the pattern of the central dial. Let's talk about that nice central dial first. Let's start from the outside. And outside you have, on the outside you have this elapsed minute ring, which is loomed, as you will see. And as you can see, I can move it. It is bidirectional and you control it via the crown at 2, and the good news is that it's a screwed down crown, which means that it cannot get knocked off, messing up your timing. Going to the inside, you have a thick outer ring where the indices are, and these indices are black, and they seem to be carved into the lacquered ring, and this lacquered ring is quite reflective, quite nice looking. If we keep on going to the inside, you can see that our ring in there, that is very nicely made with Arabic numerals, and in the inside you have this kind of wave pattern, wavy, it's more like a hair pattern, I would say. This pattern is filled with black lume, and what they have called black lume is BGW9 and old radium, which has been colored black, so to the eye it looks completely black, which is wonderful, and you will see in the lume shot that it illuminates very well. And of course, to the side, off-centered, you have the second track, which is in Roman numerals. And of course, the hand is very characteristic lizard tail, which is a design idiosyncrasy from Feynman watches. You can find it in other parts of the watch, like in that Feynman logo in there. Now let's take a look at those hands. And besides from the interesting second hand in the subdial, comparatively, the minute and hour hand are pretty run-of-the-mill, I would say, if you can use a term, with them being pretty much baton hands, and they hold some lume, which is very nice for what is supposed to be a dive watch. Protecting that beautiful, intricate dial, you've got a piece of boxed sapphire crystal, and this one has a fairly good amount of anti-reflecting. And even though, as you have understood from the first part of this review, the star of the show is the dial, the case and the movement are not lagging behind. The case is very interesting indeed. It is a compressor case, as we have seen before, and it's kind of rounded at the flanks of the watch. It's not flat, it is rounded, as you can see here, and there's a lot of layering and different parts on this case You've got first, below the box sapphire crystal, you've got a bezel. You've got a polished bezel, which then flares out a bit to a chamfer, which is polished as well. At the same time, if you look at the lugs are divided in two by the chamfer, and the inner part is brushed in a circular pattern. If we continue to look downwards, at the middle of that side of the case, you've got a brushed section which goes from lug to lug, and then it transitions to a polished part of the case. So you've got at least 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got 4 different kinds of texture on the side, which is very nice, very good attention to detail. When I told you this watch is pretty much unlike anything else you've seen besides from the Feynman one, which is logical. Let's take a look at those crowns. The compressor construction makes that there's 2 crowns, and the crowns, the bottom crown, which controls the movement, is signed Feynman, as you can see there, and the upper crown, which controls the inner rotating bezel, is not signed, but both have very nice knurling to them, which is very grippy and very good. You have already seen me turn the upper crown, so let's go, okay, as you have seen, it pops out and it controls that rotating bezel, and as we can align these ourselves, of course it aligns very nicely. And the bottom crown screw down, of course, as well, securing those 200 meters of water resistance, controls the hands. And as you can see, this movement has a hacking movement, which means that the second hand, that leader tail, has stopped. And you can hand wind as well. The winding is pretty good, pretty smooth, and it's all courtesy of the top grade ETA 2895. And in case you're wondering, the 2895 is a variant of the 2892, which is the upper class movement from the 2824. But in the run-of-the-mill 2895, the subdial comes right in the middle. Feynman watches have modified this a bit for it to be a little bit to the side and appear at 7, as you see there. So that is a very nice touch and makes this watch look even more original. So that is very, very nice. Continuing with the movement, well, this movement has 27 joules. It beats at 20,800 beats per hour. It is regulated to not derivate from plus 15 seconds a day. And as you can see, you've got that personalized rotor for this Cove model. And the movement itself has blued screws and has some perlage to those plates, which is very nice, which you can see through the exhibition caseback. Circling that exhibition caseback, you've got the specs of the watch, signaling the 200 meters water resistance, and the fact that you've got a Swiss movement in here. So the strap is ready to handle those easy to remove springs with those little heads in there, but somehow they have decided not to use those springs and have used instead a regular spring. I don't know why. It would have been nice. I think these might be, even though it might not be a strap monster because of its original design, it might have been interesting to put it on other straps. Okay, so what have I liked and what have I not liked about this watch? There's more to like than to dislike. First of all is, well, that really original aesthetic of this watch. Feynman are keeping very faithful to that aesthetic initiated with the one, and they have made a beefed up version of that watch with dive watch characteristics, and they have succeeded in that. I also like that this watch is well balanced. Even though there's a lot going on the dial, it is never cluttered. They managed to get a very nice balance on that watch. Then that short lug to lug is wonderful. And that case, that finishing, is very impressive as well. The movement that they have used, they have not just put a run-of-the-mill NH35 or 2824. They have gone with a more premium option in here, a top-grade movement with perlage, with decoration, very fine, very quality, a high-quality product, and you see and you feel that. This is a quite refined watch for what is supposed to be otherwise a tool watch. But I do like that. Everybody knows that nobody dives these days with our dive watches, so they're recognizing that and they are creating something different in a landscape that is full of Rolex Submariner wannabes. Another thing to like, the lume. I think the lume is very interesting. Very nice that they have used that black lume. Anything else might have ruined the design, I believe. Now let's go to what I have liked less about this watch. And first of all, this is a small pet peeve, but it's something that has to be noted. See how that crystal kind of distorts the outer rotating bezel? I believe that is a flaw that these re-released vintage compressor cases do, sadly, with that crystal. And well, it's a loss for gain, because that curve is very nice, but it's at the loss of some legibility. The other thing that you should be aware of is the price. This watch is around 1,500 Singaporean dollars, I believe, if I'm not wrong. So that equates to around 1,200 US dollars and around 1,000 euros. So that may be a pretty hefty price to pay for some, for a microbrand that is, well, not that well known. And of course a small point of not having used those easy removal spring bars, but that is really minor. So otherwise a very balanced, very good, very well built and very original watch. So great for Feynman Timekeepers to have given us an original design once again. One that might not be to everybody's taste, but one that is quite refreshing to see nonetheless. So thank you very much, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. There is much more content coming. Thank you again for having watched the video, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Goodbye.